Welcome to the Sacred Rebels podcast. This is your host, Tay.
And co-host Amy.
We're the podcast that fearlessly dives into the depths of holistic healing. Join us as we empower you to embrace your divine journey, confront sexual trauma, conquer addictions, and rise with confidence with life after trauma. It's time to unlock the sacred rebel within and enter a transformative path to self-discovery and healing.
We are here to trigger you. By shattering stigmas and questioning societal norms, join us as we explore diverse stories of men and women showcasing that there's not one way to heal and the importance of community. Together, we will navigate the evolving human experience, embracing paths to growth and understanding. Let's heal, baby!
Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Sacred Rebels. We are so excited to have Phoenix Gould here tonight joining us. She is a coach from Canada who specializes in narcissistic abuse and patterns and behaviors. So we just can't wait to learn more about what that is tonight after we do our big deep breath and our card.
One hand on the heart, one hand on the belly. Take a big breath in through the nose. Slow, steady exhale through the mouth, opening your heart, opening your mind, and allowing yourself to settle in to hear the message that you need to hear tonight. Or today, whenever you're listening.
Okay, you guys, I think this is very fitting. I pulled this card right before we got on, and the message is releasing. And I think it's going to be perfect for tonight's topic, which is crazy. It says, it's time to let go. Whatever you're asking about, offer it up to the divine, release it. Although you're constantly creating your own reality, there's something about your current situation that suggests that what's done is done. You've played your part. It's time to release. When you release an issue to the universe or the divine, you allow space for whatever it is your highest good to take its course. As much as you might think you know exactly what you want, drawing this card suggests that you need to allow the universe to show you your next best step. Make the word acceptance your key word in the moment. Dance with what is. Trust the universe has an amazing plan for you because it does. Sometimes we need to accept that situations have evolved even if we're not quite ready for them to do so. When this card comes up, there's a sense that the emotional seasons are changing, so it's time to move on. Sometimes you just have to let go and let God. Beautiful.
Big facts.
I think that this is like a perfect message to start tonight's conversation, with just personal experiences and situations of like not wanting to let go, but kind of having to, and knowing that you kind of need to let go to heal through a situation and to grow, even if it's really, really hard to do so. So I love that so much. That was perfect.
Me too. I'm excited for this conversation.
Me too. So Phoenix, tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe a little bit of your story, what got you to where you are today and what makes you so passionate about spreading the message of narcissistic abuse.
Yes, I grew up with a narcissistic mom, and so had a lot of trauma and carried it with me for many, many years, but didn't even know it. Because when we go through quite intense trauma, we need to kind of push it away a little bit. So I forgot a lot of the things that happened in my childhood. In fact, I thought I had the perfect childhood for a long, long, long time.
I hear that a lot.
Yeah. And when I was 21, I started to have really big issues when I was with other people. I couldn't really be around other people comfortably. I would always ask myself, what should I say? How should I react? What do they want me to say? And it became so terrifying that I froze whenever I was with another person. And that's when I realized that something was really wrong, because I could see that other people weren't like this, right? I could see that other people were quite spontaneous in their interactions, in their conversations, and that I couldn't be spontaneous at all. And so I found a guide for me who was Native American Indian and who was trained in shamanism by his elders, but had also studied psychology. And he brought those two together and merged them beautifully in his own kind of therapy. And that's when I discovered slowly what my problems were and where they came from. And I realized that there was something really different in the way that I had been brought up. But I didn't know that my mother was a narcissist then. I believed that she had borderline personality disorder, and tried to help her and to be more understanding and more empathetic and speak to her a lot and help her through, the tough situations. And in fact, it took me until I was in my 40s to realize that she was a narcissist when I came across a book that described narcissism. And all the missing bits, that borderline personality disorder didn't quite fit or describe, I found when I came across, this book of narcissism, and it was like, oh my God, now I get it. And so during this whole time from my 20s into my 40s, I was doing a lot of healing work, because in fact, I believe that I was very close to having borderline personality disorder myself, or that I actually did, because that's a very common thing for children of narcissists to
Can
suffer.
you, sorry, not to cut you off, can you explain what, BPD is? Because I feel like a lot of people don't know what that is.
Well, so see, now they believe that borderline personality disorder and narcissism actually kind of come on a sliding scale.
Okay.
And you can be anywhere along that sliding scale. The more defenses, well, let me start with this. Both borderline personality disorder and narcissism have in common that the person has suffered through a great amount of trauma, where they were not being unconditionally loved, but where love was conditional. And so there's a lack of sense of self. Some have no sense of self. And there is a fear of abandonment. There's a strong need to please, to be liked, and to get that affirmation that one is worthy, because at the core is this deep, deep feeling of worthlessness. And with it comes a huge amount of shame. And so, whereas the narcissist has developed defenses against that shame, against those feelings of worthlessness, they build up that, no, that doesn't exist for me. And they start to wear that mask, and they lose their connection to themselves and to their feelings. The borderline personality disorder patient feels incredibly deeply and incredibly strongly, and is so overwhelmed by their emotions, because they cannot block them at all, that their life is incredibly overwhelming.
Wow. I feel like I kind of can relate to a little bit of like that, never having like that sense of self, just from a little bit of the trauma that I experienced as a child. And I remember my doctors being like, well, maybe that you have BPD, or like always thinking that I was bipolar, because I would have like such high highs and low lows, and they would just try to diagnose me and put like a label on it, when really I just had like all this unresolved trauma. But I can now see that kind of stems from not being unconditionally loved, or showed what unconditional love is, and then feeling that like you don't know who you are, kind of like that loss of self, for sure. I feel like that's very like spot on.
Yeah, they tried to when I first got out of rehab too, because it's like homelessness, like addiction is a lot. Like they kind of go hand in hand with BPD, and they like right when I first got out of treatment tried to diagnose me with that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
how about you give me a year?
Yeah.
And then
let me
you
do
know,
some work and come
let
back
me,
and we'll
you know, of course.
rediscuss.
But it kind of just brought an awareness to me in that you said that you had a narcissistic mother, because honestly, whenever I think of narcissism, I think of it in relationships, right? And I feel like most people do, right? Like significant others, boyfriends, girlfriends, things. And you don't actually think about it in a parent role of like what that is now to be a child raised by a narcissist.
Yep.
Yeah, right. And what I've discovered with the clients that are coming to me is they often, they come to me because they've ended up in a relationship with a narcissist that is, the romantic relationship. But as we go back into their childhood and they start to remember more things, they actually realize that they have been in an abusive household, that they grew up with an abusive parent or two abusive parents, and that they actually could also be narcissistic.
Yeah, it's familiar because it feels
Yeah.
familiar. That is like what you think love is when you.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
My abuser was a narcissist, and I dated narcissists for years until I was
Same.
like, all done, all done.
It's because it doesn't show up as a red flag, because that's for us, that is normal.
Yeah, it's
right?
normal. It's comfortable. It's what we're used to. I think that is so true. Wow.
And then when you remove yourself from the narcissist relationship and you find real love, and you're like, wow,
And it's
this
safe.
is like safe and
And you
secure.
confuse it with being boring because it feels so safe, and you think, oh my God, I need to create some chaos. I need to make some upheaval in this, because why is this so boring when really it's safe. My therapist tells me all the time, do you ever consider, like, boring being safe? And I was like, wait, what? Just like, no. And it's true. It's like we are so adapted to chaos and thrive in chaos. I know that's, the story for me, that once we reach a loving, healthy relationship that isn't chaos or turmoil or fighting or screaming at each other all the time, and all the things, that it feels boring. And it's just like, couldn't be furthest from the truth.
And I also think, on the other side of it too, is like, there's also the side of narcissism that doesn't have to be this like screaming. It's just a deep level of manipulation.
Oh yeah.
It's a deep level of like building you up, and then like making you feel so good, and then being the one to like break you down by saying like the meanest, most hurtful things. So then it's just like, like a ownership of your feelings, and not, it's not necessarily like abuse, more than just like a mental mind fuck.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Yeah, I think that the more intelligent they are, the more subtle they become, the less they are aware of who they are and what they're doing, the more outbursts they are, the more, violent it can be physically, but also with yelling and screaming. And the more smarter they are, the more sophisticated they become. And being so subtle that the abuse is still happening, but you can't quite put your finger on it. You can't quite explain it.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was my experience. And they look so great to everybody else. They look so picture perfect, but behind closed doors, they make you feel like you're this fucking big.
Always happens behind closed doors, hey?
So I heard something after I ask you this little fun fact, and you can validate it or not, but so we heard this thing recently, that narcissists take a lot of showers because they feel so disgusted with themselves. Like they're generally very clean people because they just shower a lot or care about like their self-image like a lot. Is that true, or do you think that's just kind of like a little myth? Or
I have no idea, to be honest. I've never heard it, and I have never asked my clients about it. So that would be very interesting.
I don't know where we heard that. Do you remember where we heard that? But I was like, whoa, that kind of makes sense. Like just by personal experience. But then I'm just like, okay, I wonder if there's any like validity to that, or if it's just like a saying.
I have no idea.
Well, could you explain to our listeners like the definition of a narcissist and kind of like what that means, like what that word means?
Yeah, I find that the definition in the book's actually not very good at explaining what a narcissist is. So if you allow me, I'll explain it in the way that I've been explaining it to other people. That makes it really clear. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So a narcissist is usually established before the age of 6. And it's around the age of 6 that kids really come into, being empathetic. Before, we are very self-centered. And around the age of 6 or 7, children move and shift into feeling more into others, developing more empathy. And so a narcissist is unable to feel empathy, and they're unable to feel love. So their brains are completely different in that sense. Plus, they see other people not as human beings, but as tools to be used. And so if you imagine that, you're buying a toaster, You go into the store, you're buying a toaster, and you like the red one because it's really new and shiny, and you buy it and you bring it home and it's all great, and you show it off to all your friends and you love it. And then you use it, and as you use it, you're getting a little tired of the red. Now maybe a blue one that you saw seems a little bit more interesting, and maybe the toaster doesn't work as well anymore. And so you bonk it on the side, you smack it a few times, and you turn it upside down and you shake it to try and make it work again. This is how a narcissist sees human beings. What they need is fuel to keep that feeling of self-control up inside themselves, to keep that mask that they're strong and capable and beautiful. To keep that mask, they need fuel from other people. That's all they ever want. That's the only thing they want. And fuel is any emotional reaction from other people which they provoked. And so, in the beginning of the relationship, they will love their partner, they will love bomb them. It's the best newest thing, the shiny toaster in your kitchen. Yeah. And then after a while, it becomes a little dull. The love you feel isn't quite as strong anymore because it tends to wane a little bit over time. Or now love isn't so interesting anymore. Maybe now jealousy would be more enriching for them, would give them more of a boost.
Yeah.
And so they will, smack the toaster, which is when they're being really mean to you. You're not giving them enough emotional reactions anymore. So they smack you really hard with a bad word or by chopping you down so that you will be, confused or angry or sad, because any emotional reaction is fuel to them. And they don't care. Yeah. And they don't care what it is, whether you give them love, confusion, irritation, anger, hatred. They don't care. But the stronger the emotional reaction they get from you, the better for them. The more they feel in control, the more they can keep that appearance up. And so that explains, one, why they're so ruthless, because they really don't see us as a human being. They really only see us as a toaster or a washing machine or a dishwasher.
An object.
An object. Yes. And if it doesn't work anymore, they'll try and get it to work again. And as soon as we give them fuel through an emotional reaction, they're fine again. They're like, oh, great, there we are, fine.
Yeah, wow.
the bigger, the better.
That's why the best response to a narcissist is no response. Or what were your intentions on saying this to me right now? That's my newest response to anything that I get from the narcissist.
I sent her that. I saw a TikTok and it was like how to speak to a narcissist if you're dealing with co-parenting or all of the things. When they treat you like shit, or they say these awful, nasty things to you, or try to put you down and make you feel some type of way, or manipulate you into thinking that that you're this way, you can just reply with, what is your intentions by saying that to me? Are you trying to hurt me? Is that what you're intending? Why would you say something like that? What's your intention behind that entire comment, And it gets them thinking, or it completely stumps them and they're like, huh, they either don't write back or they just keep, putting you down to kind of go over that whole entire question and pretend like they never saw it, basically.
I was just going to ask you what your experience was with that phrase. Is it working?
Yeah, it's usually no response.
Yeah.
Which ends the conversation, which is great, because that's all I want to do. Because just exactly that. Just no response is the best response. Or if it's something along the lines of that, it's just like, okay, we're done here. I'm not, because I know what they're trying to get. They're trying to get that exactly like you said, that energy, the
fuel.
They're getting me. They're poking and triggering, because they know you, right? Because that's another thing that narcissists do, is they really get to know you to use the things,
your pain points,
to get that reaction from you.
Yeah, they study you like a book.
Yeah,
for an exam.
So what would be your advice to, say, moms or dads co-parenting with narcissists? Because I feel like it's a lot easier to end a relationship when children aren't involved. what would be the situation, like what would be your advice for parents maybe dealing with this and dealing with narcissism in their co-parenting lives, or even like children of narcissists? Should they try and heal their relationship with this person, or should they kind of just accept it for what it is? And how would you go about something like that?
Well, let's answer both questions. So to your first one, how do you co-parent with a narcissist, with a narcissistic spouse, is you cannot co-parent. You can only parallel parent. Because here's the thing.
Wow, parallel parent. I like that.
Because this is the dream, right? This is the dream we have when we have broken up with an ex, and we're thinking, well, surely they will want the best for the child. But guess what? What's the child? Just another
A
toaster.
tool, another fucking tool. That's what I say all the time. It's wild. And a tool usually to hurt. They use it as like a pawn to hurt the other person.
All the time.
Exactly. Because now they can't get to their ex-spouse anymore. So they will work through the child to hurt the spouse. And they don't care about the child, right? And so co-parenting is not going to happen. And so what I would say is know that it's never going to happen. Co-parenting.
Sorry.
So
forget about it.
co-parenting counseling's an out.
It's out.
Sorry, babe.
All right.
So that means actually never tell your ex-narcissistic spouse what you want. When you co-parent, you have a dialogue. Let's do this because this is best for the child, or I don't like it when this is happening, so let's change that. With a narcissist, you have to not say anything that you want, because guess what? They want your wrath, they want your anger, so they will do exactly the opposite.
Oh my
So
gosh.
So don't communicate what you want. Just leave them be. Know that there's nothing you can do to change them. They will try to get you or the child at every moment. All you can do is be the good parent that you are, and if you can, take the child away from the narcissist or have them spend as little time as possible in that house. But don't communicate what you want, and don't communicate about anything else than pick up of the kids, pick up and drop off. Don't ever get into a conversation with them. So make it very clear that you will only communicate through texting. You will not have phone calls with them, and you will not discuss anything in person. Make that clear. Just make that boundary. Just like, if you want to discuss something, text me. Because the more time you spend with them, the more fuel they will get. So if they see you and they see your reaction, and they feel your reaction, they get the most fuel. So you want to avoid any kind of discussion when you're person to person with them. Even on the phone, when you're having a phone conversation, they can hear through your voice some of your reaction, even if you're trying to be,
Remain
like a
calm.
gray rock. Yeah. And so texting really is the best way, because then they can't disturb you. If you're not available whenever they're wanting to speak to you, that's another boundary. So the more you can push them away, the less you can make yourself available, the better. Also know that everything you say to your child will somehow get back to the narcissist. So keep conversations that you don't want to get back to your narcissist, away from the child when you have them with your friends or family members, so the child doesn't overhear it.
Is that because of the narcissist abuse that like the child will go because they're trying to get that, like almost like that connection with them? Do you know what I'm saying? Like the child will go back and say it to the narcissist because they don't have that connection. So they get the connection from trying to say things that are happening at the significant, like
At the other person's house.
Interesting. I don't think so, actually. I don't think kids quite think that way. I think it's more that the narcissist is kind of going to use the information from the child. So they will ask a hell of a lot of questions because they don't see you now. So they want to know from the child, how did mom react when I did this? What did mom say about that? Because then they can still get some fuel from you for the child.
I'm like thinking back to like, my abuser in the household that I grew up in, and he was, you know, we had talked about it last week, and my portion of the story, he was so obsessed with my mom that he sexually abused me for years, and
Oh my God.
he admitted that to me in my letter. And so now I'm thinking, and I'm like, it makes so much sense. I would come back from my mom's and he would sit me down and he would grill me. Did mom have any dates this week? You know, is she dating anyone? What's she doing? What happened after the last fight that we had? Like, did you have to, like, what, did you go to your room, or were you down? Like, just so many questions. Like, I was always interrogated. The first 24 hours I was with this person, like, I was sat down like an interrogation and like asked all these questions. And now I'm just like, holy shit, it makes so, because my mom refused to communicate with him. Like, they had a no contact order for years, you know, even before she knew that all this abuse was going on. Like, he was abusive to her and a narcissist to her. And so she just straight up was like, no contact order. You will not contact me, period.
You're saying that that's a very narcissistic trait, is when they're trying to like pry information out of children about the other.
Absolutely. Yes. They will also try to triangulate, right, against mom or against dad, whoever
Yes.
it is. They will try
Weird.
to draw the
Or
child.
brainwash you into thinking that like my mom's the bad one, my mom's
Exactly.
you know, the abuser in the situation, and she doesn't care about me, and or if she did, she would have known that this was going, you know, just like sick shit, like programming.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because
Wow,
they
it all
wanted-
makes sense.
It all makes sense. I mean,
Yeah.
these are just like, you know, confirmations to what we've already known and kind of talked about, but just like hearing it from you really just kind of boom, hits it home for me, because that is just wild. And then what would you say, you know, someone trying to leave a situation, even if they don't have children, like what would be your advice to kind of start pulling away and still being safe if they're not in a safe situation?
Are you talking about romantic relationships?
Yes, now I'm
Okay.
talking about romantic relationships.
Right. So, you know, it really depends if the person wants to leave or is still kind of hooked. Right. A lot of times people, they know they should leave, but they can't. And so that would be a slightly different situation. So maybe let's start with the one where people are really kind of what's called the trauma bond, where they're, you know, bonded to the partner. They know they should leave, that they know it's abusive, but they can't do it because they feel like they are so attached to that person who is the abuser. So I think one of the important steps is to realize that a lot of people in that situation have been very isolated from the rest of the world, because that is what the narcissistic spouse will do, right? Because they surround their victim with what I call dark mirrors, like all the bad things about it, you know, about you. You're too jealous, you're too sensitive, you're too explosive, you're too this and to that. And when the victim has no friends and no family that they're seeing anymore, then there's no comparison, right? So they start to believe that darkness, and they start questioning themselves. Is it really me? Am I really too sensitive? Oh my God, no one will love me when I leave. You know, if I leave this person, I don't think anyone could love me.
Yeah.
This is when you're being so isolated, which is what all narcissists attempt to do, right? They kind of cut down on your social networks until in the end, they're the only ones left. And so if people notice that, the first thing they need to do is establish a world of white mirrors, which means normal people. So it's really important to reach out, make friends, reconnect with family, you know, those people that show you everything that is lovely and good about you, so that you have something that starts to at least show you that, whoa, this is true too. So that can't be true. You know, the dark, I can't be just this dark if I'm also having this light mirrored back to me. And so hopefully over time, there will be enough of light mirrored back to the person so that they can start to see, oh, there's another world. And actually there is a world I could run to. You know, if you don't
I love
know.
that analogy. White and black mirrors. I like that.
Yeah. So if you know that there's a world to run to, then you might want to, right? It makes it more appealing and more possible. And
I think for a lot of, you know, a narcissist, it's a control thing. And if you're with them for a long time, they'll make you feel comfortable in a way, but then like make it so you don't have an out, right? Like they don't put anything in your name. You don't, you know what I mean? They'll take care of everything for you. The house isn't in your name. The cars aren't, like, you know what I mean? So then it makes you like, it's almost like really hard to leave a situation because they like sneaky control.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Yes. And this is where those friends and the family can come in, right? They can offer you a home, at first, or they can maybe offer you some help with finding a job or something, so that you have something lined up. I think that, in terms of staying safe, because you were asking about safety, it really depends. If you are with a narcissist who has been physically abusive, then of course, if you're leaving, that's gonna up that even more. It's going to get more dangerous. So that in that case, you have to have a really good plan in place to where you will never see them again. Everything's set up. You leave your stuff, or you have other people pick it up for you, but you will never ever see this person again. And you create an environment where they can't reach you either, right, through a protection order or those kind of measures. If the narcissist hasn't been physically abusive, then you still need to know that the moment you're going to try and make a getaway, they will at first, of course, rage, but it won't be long until they come back and promise you everything you've ever wanted.
Love bomb you again. Yep.
They will apologize where they've never apologized. They will say, I see the error of my ways. I will go to therapy. I will do everything to change because
begging and pleading. Yeah.
I love you more than anyone in this world, and you are my one and only. And of course,
nobody will ever love you the way I loved you. Nobody will ever love you the way that I love you.
Yeah.
And who will ever want you with all these kids and all these, you know,
things.
Joke's on you.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of know that this is going to come. And you have to know that a narcissist cannot change and will never change, but they will manipulate the hell out of you if you let them.
Yeah.
And so, if you go back, this time it's going to be worse. Whenever you go back, the abuse is going to be worse.
Yeah,
because you've just chosen to be with an abusive person.
And you've kind of allowed it. You've gave them like the okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I was just thinking while you were talking, like, what do you think would be like some warning signs if maybe, for example, if I'm in a relationship right now and I think maybe there's like a couple signs that I might be with a narcissist, what are like some telltale signs that someone is a narcissist other than, the empathy part? Because some people can't really tell if someone's empathetic at first or not.
And I feel like narcissists, if they're good enough and smart enough, like you said,
seem
can
empathetic.
Pretend to be empathetic in the beginning.
Oh yeah, they are great pretenders. They're the best actors in the world, right? They can make everyone believe that they're the most kindest person in the world. Yeah. What are some telltale signs? Well, we could go both ways. I could mention some of the things that are kind of like typical for a narcissist, but what I find actually more helpful is to say, well, how do you feel? How do you feel with this person? Are you feeling safe? Are you feeling cared for? Are you feeling heard? Are they really listening to what you're saying? Do they say, do they take it seriously what you're saying, or do they constantly find excuses? How do you feel? But of course, that is hard for some of us who have grown up with narcissistic parents, because that feels normal.
Yeah.
And so that doesn't, sometimes we don't even know what we feel. So some telltale signs is when you're having a conversation about what it is you don't like, they've done something that you don't appreciate. A normal person will really listen and say, oh my God, how did that make you feel? And I'm really sorry, that's not what I intended. I will do better in the future. That's a normal conversation with someone who's healthy. If you're with someone who is questioning how you're feeling and then tells you maybe you're too sensitive, maybe you didn't read the signs right, maybe you didn't quite understand, what they were saying. And by the way, you have done the same thing in the past, or
Yeah, like
something.
has to just throw it in there.
Yeah, or if you didn't do that, then I wouldn't have to do this. So
Mm.
if they shift the blame away from them and turn the focus onto you and what's wrong with you and what you could change, that's a really red flag. Because someone who really appreciates and love you, who gets a feedback of, hey, that wasn't okay with me, they will say, oh, tell me more. Like, what's hard about this? What do you find difficult?
Yeah.
And, oh, interesting. And even if they don't agree, they can say, might have to think about that. I'll observe it next time. I'm not quite sure what I was doing. There will be like an acceptance of the problem.
Yeah.
Narcissists will make it so there is no problem anymore. There has never been a problem. You're the problem.
Yeah, your trauma is the problem. That was what I got all the time. It was just like, oh, well, your filter's screwed up because of your trauma, and you're reflecting your trauma on what I'm saying. That was like, cool.
Oh my God.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
So just
you're
constantly
broken.
being-
You have
yeah.
a broken filter.
Constantly
Like,
being invalidated
mhm.
and like put down and not heard, not seen, not respected, not valued, all of the things. But yeah, I think that's like number one is like the, oh, you're too sensitive then.
Yeah.
Like never an apology. It's just like, or you get like the backhanded apologies. Oh, well, I'm sorry that you're sensitive and that you took it that way.
Right.
Or I'm sorry that you feel that way.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That one, that's a good, I'm really sorry that you feel that way.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
how about you did it? You made me feel that
Take some
way.
accountability for sure.
And another sign would be that maybe the very thing that you said you had a problem with will occur again, because now guess what? They know that will trigger you. And so they will do it again and again and again and again.
Wow.
Rather than someone who knows that you're sensitive in the area and who will, try and find another way so to make sure you're comfortable. Another red flag is when you're putting up a boundary, right? And they're not accepting the boundary. The hardest thing for narcissists is when you put up a boundary. That's when they usually start to, they will want to run that boundary down, because how dare you have a boundary? So in the beginning, they might be, very playful and very nice and try and talk you out of that restaurant you wanted to go to, or you had planned that evening with your friends, and now there's a reason why you can't go. And so it can be sneaky. It can take a little while to catch on with that, because of course everyone once in a while has a reason why they can't go where what you were planning. Or they will try and talk you into something that you clearly don't want, right? Someone who is loving will want to find out more. What is it you don't like about it? Okay, well, let's see if we can find something where we can meet in the middle, at least, right?
Yeah.
But for a narcissist, there is no middle. It's either their way or the highway.
No way. Yeah.
Weird.
Do you think, would you say a narcissist and like a sociopath are the same thing, or are they different? Because a sociopath is someone who doesn't identify with empathy or doesn't feel emotion too.
Right.
So would that be kind of the same, or are they different in a way?
Well, so the way I understand it, and I might not be entirely right, but the way I've understood it is that a sociopath has a different level of disregard for societal rules. So, for example, a narcissist might still try to play within the boundaries of what is allowed and what is not allowed, and the law. They will try to stay within the law.
Yeah.
But a sociopath is
just detached from reality.
So they will steal, they will do fraud, they don't care about prison or any of those things.
Yeah,
none
consequences.
of those rules. Yeah, so there's a slight difference there. But in essence, they're both narcissists. Is that only the sociopath has the added disregard for societal rules.
Okay.
Yeah, they think they live above the law
and
can get away with all the things.
Right.
It's weird.
Yeah.
So you said that usually around age 6 we develop, if we were to be a narcissist, you develop it. So you can't be born like a narcissist? It's around the age of 6 where you either are or you not or you're not.
It's before the age of 6. So this can
Okay.
happen, a narcissist becomes a narcissist before the age of 6. And I'm sorry, what was the other question you were asking? The
Like
difference between a psychopath.
could you be born with it?
Oh, well, this is again how I understand it, and I might not be completely right. A psychopath is a born narcissist, and a narcissist is made, is what I understand. So
Okay.
if you're born as a narcissist,
So just a product of your environment, basically,
well,
kind
if
of
you
determines.
if you're a product of trauma, if there's trauma in your childhood and that turns you into a narcissist, you're a narcissist. But if you're born with that inability, there might be no trauma in your life, you might still turn out to be a narcissist. Then you're
Or a
actually
sociopath.
then you're considered a sociopath, because a psychopath, because a psychopath is born that way, and a narcissist is being created that way through their life experiences.
Can you, like, I know a lot of narcissists will actually identify as narcissists. That's like they'd never admit it. And they usually say everybody else is a narcissist. That's usually their go-to. But is it something that people can go to therapy and fix?
Like, can they heal from it?
So far, no. There hasn't been anything that has been successful. Not even psychedelics, for example. Psilocybin is one of those medicines that are now being used to heal trauma.
Yep.
Like borderline personality disorder, depression, all kinds of other.
Yep, I have experience with microdosing, and it worked wonders.
Yeah,
we both have big experience
Yeah.
with plant medicine too.
We're very into the plant medicine world, for sure.
Yeah, I have recently done it also.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they have tried it with narcissists. And, I asked that lady I was working with, oh my God, after my experience, I said, oh my God, you need to do this with narcissists. And she said, they have tried, but there was no, it didn't work. And I said, but what happened? And she said, they just kind of dabble on the surface. They don't go deep.
They don't dive deep.
And so, what psilocybin does is it reconnects you with your unconscious in a huge way, right? But somehow the narcissist has developed that thick wall, which they never go to, even during their lifetime. And not even psilocybin can break through that wall.
Wow. It's very interesting.
What about other plant medicines? I'm gonna have to ask Jessica about like bufo and ayahuasca. Like,
so
are those
bufo
kinds
is
of
5-MeO DMT.
Oh, those kinds of psychedelics can help? Do you have any? I'm gonna have to ask now, Jessica. You don't know because you don't have experience with it.
Well, yeah, so far in my research, they haven't found anything that is helpful. There's one
That's crazy. That's like that's a crazy thought.
But sorry, you were saying there's one what?
Yes.
There's one narcissist out there. I can't think of his name right now. He's quite famous on YouTube. He's a psychologist and a known narcissist who talks about narcissism. And he says that the best thing he can do for a narcissist is to get them to be borderline. But I don't actually believe him, because once you're borderline, your chances of healing are 75%. It's huge. And so I don't really believe him when he says that he can get a narcissist to become a borderline personality disorder patient. I don't believe it. I think it's one maybe part of the grandiose thinking that he can actually,
heal people. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so wild. So there's no like behavioral therapy, or like once they have awareness, like it's just they're just doomed to be this.
I think, yes, I think so. When I had my journey with psilocybin recently to do some trauma work, I got to a place to where I understood why a narcissist becomes a narcissist. Again, that might not be true. That was my experience in that moment. But I realized, because both my mom and I went through trauma, probably very similar trauma in our childhood. She with her family and I with her.
Mm-hmm.
And I was asking the question, why didn't I turn out like her? What's the difference? And what I experienced was that when we go through trauma, our soul gets to make a choice. Because when we go through this trauma, when we have a narcissistic family member, we are surrounded with dark mirrors. That's all there is. There's nothing else. And so from day one, we learn that we ought to be ashamed of ourselves, that we are puny, that we are worthless, that we are defenseless. And if we can look into those mirrors, into those dark mirrors, and say, okay, yeah, you're right, we can actually build a home in that darkness, which is why a lot of us come out feeling so worthless. We're like, oh my God, I'm worthless, because we stared into those mirrors and we took them on as our home and we said, yeah, you're right. And what narcissists do is that pain. I mean, when I experienced it, that place was so painful, to feel so utterly worthless. And it was, if I could have had, if there was a button I could have pushed to make that experience stop, I so would have, because it was unbearable. And so the narcissist decides at that point, no, that cannot be true. And they block all of that off. Their feelings of worthlessness, they block all of that off, but they don't get to have a home. They're constantly drowning in those feelings of, oh my God, I can't stand this. This worthlessness is so painful. I can't. And it's like they're drowning. And so they grab on, they just wanted to try, sorry, this is hard to say. I'm getting so excited. They just try to stay afloat. And so they grab on to life rafts and boats. And that's how they see us, just like a life raft or a rope they can hang on to that will stop them from drowning. Because this is what I believe. They experience, if they don't have fuel, they experience that personal hell of utter self-loathing and shame about who they are is so big that it feels like they're dying. They cannot bear it.
Yeah, so people just who aren't willing to see their own pain, basically.
Yes.
Or recognize their own pain.
So we've chosen to bear it. Somehow we found the strength to decide that we will bear that pain, and made a home in it and stayed whole. And they've decided that they couldn't bear it, and they just try and push it away, push it away, push it away, push it away constantly. It's a constant effort. They can never rest. They can never rest.
I feel like that's really profound. Yeah. And I feel like very, very spot on.
So this decided not to, they've decided to not look at that shame, which keeps them, I think they've built that wall. They cannot go there. It is unbearable. It feels to them like they're dying. And so they put that huge wall between their feelings, and that cuts off all feelings of love, of course, as well, right? They only know disappointment and satisfaction. They don't know love or happiness even. They only know satisfaction and disappointment. That's all they know.
Do you think a lot of narcissists carry a lot of insecurities, like that thing, like they'll like characteristically have a lot of like deep insecurities?
All of them. I think that's at their core. I mean, that's clinically proven that at their core, there is a huge amount of shame about who they are and a terror of facing that shame. They can't.
That could be the shower thing, where the shower thing came from, right? Or just like if they constantly feel their shame and worthiness,
they're trying to wash it off.
Because they know what they're doing. They're like aware of it, right? It's like not this like unconscious behavior that they're doing.
Well, I think again here it depends on their intelligence. I think that the more intelligent they are, the more aware they are of what they're doing, and the less intelligent are, the less aware they are. Because with intelligence comes reflection and
I was just gonna say, like, part of me wants to believe that like my abuser knew what he was doing was wrong, but now in hindsight, I'm like, I truly believe that he believed his behavior was normal. Or like him questioning a child, or all these things, like maybe he just literally thought that was normal. Who knows?
Yeah, he might have been aware that this was not acceptable in the regular world, but he didn't see any reason why he shouldn't, because they don't know any boundaries, right?
Yeah.
They really truly feel that they have the right to do what they want to do. They might be aware that normal people would not approve of that. But some of them probably even don't. I don't know.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. This was so informative.
I know. I'm just keeping my mouth shut.
Do you have
we
any-
got
do you
we
have
got a
any
lot
questions?
of we got a lot of listeners on here.
Yeah, we do have
Um,
a lot of people
I
watching
was
us.
just, yeah, people that want to know all the information. So
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
just
you
gonna
know-
keep my mouth shut, but I do know a few narcissists, that's for sure.
Well, you know, one. Are they listening?
They're
Oh,
listening.
they're listening.
Okay, so
And
here's
then
one
they
thing.
send messages saying that other people tell them about the things that we're saying
Yeah.
on here,
Never-
acting like
never
they're not the
admit.
ones
Never
listening.
admit that they're listening. Never admit it.
Right.
It's funny.
Well, so, there might be one thing, which is, I think, what you've mentioned in the letter, that you were interested in, my take on radical self-love, which would come in really, really beautiful to hear maybe for your listeners, because now we know all about that, but, how the hell do you heal, right? From,
Yeah, I was just gonna say, this is a big thing for me right now. Self-love. I struggle very. That's been my biggest hurdle throughout this entire process of healing, is like seeing myself for who I am and loving who I see.
right. Ooh, well then, radical self-love might be really, really a good topic if we still have time.
Oh my
do we have
gosh,
time?
we have plenty of time.
Awesome. Good. So, because when I started my journey also, I could hear it back then. That's like 20 years ago now, 26 years ago. You've got to love yourself. You've got to love yourself. But I was struggling with it. I did these exercises standing in front of the mirror and telling myself, I love you. And all I could feel like, no, I don't. No, I don't. Oh my God. So how do you, practice radical self-love when there are parts of you that you don't like?
And I
And
love
so-
how you said that. It's up, and like I think that people really need to understand that, because I actually talk about this a lot, like in my app or in my yoga classes or my sound baths, is that loving yourself is a practice, because you've spent so many years not knowing how to do it. And it's the same thing. It's like, oh, show compassion and empathy and all these things. It's like, yeah, it's like the I am statements. It's like, okay, but how do you actually practice it? Because it's not just this like, oh, you're going to all of a sudden make a decision and you're going to be like, oh, I love myself now. Like, no, it's not. You've had years of abuse, years of programming of people telling you that you're not worth it, and all of these things. It's like, okay, so now I have to practice it. And it's going to take time. It's not just going to happen overnight. It's not just going to fall on you. And you're just going to be like, I'm amazing and I love myself.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So, and really, there aren't very many books out there to tell you how to practice it either, right? Aren't there?
No.
No.
I mean, I'd be
So-
reading them if there was.
Well, I found such an easy way. And once I started using it for my clients, I saw such a huge shift. It blew me away. And I'm using it all the time now with them. So this is what I call radical self-love. And I explain it like this. We have all these thoughts and feelings about ourselves. I hate when I'm not spontaneous. I want to be spontaneous. Why am I not spontaneous? Maybe hopefully tomorrow I'll be spontaneous, right? But I don't dare being spontaneous. What if people don't like me when I am, right? So in the beginning of the healing journey, those are often questions that are coming up. And I explain it like this. All the feelings and thoughts that we have about ourselves are kind of like little children, that we have kind of pushed away, because when we feel insecure, we're like, I don't want to be insecure, and we push that away. Or when we're angry, we're like, I don't want to be angry, so we push that away. And all these things that we have kind of, chucked off and pushed away follow us around like little children. Like, when you're a mom, you know what that's like. Your child will say, Mommy, I want candy. I want candy. And if you ignore them, the child will get louder. Mom, I want candy. I want candy. And they might yank on your pants like, candy, I want the candy.
God. Yeah.
Yeah, the more you ignore them, the louder it becomes.
Yeah.
Right? And it's the same for feelings and thoughts. If we ignore them, they become louder. And if we want to run away from them, then they get to decide where we're walking in the world. We're not choosing, I want to go there. Because if, one of those thoughts comes right in front, is like, you're stupid. And we don't want, we don't want to feel that. We'll turn around and we'll go in a different way. So in the end, our feelings and thoughts get to control where we go with our life. And it can be very overwhelming because soon we have 100 thoughts and feelings running after us. And so what we would do with a child, if the child wants candy, I learned that early on when I was a mom. If I stop, and I turn around and I sit down and I look my child in the face and I say, "Oh, you want the candy?" The child will stop screaming and says, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Of course you want the candy, because it tastes so sweet and it would just make your day right now." And then they go, "Yeah." And, they go like, "Oh, mom gets it. I don't have to yell anymore. I can calm down." And once they've calmed down, you can say, "Yeah, I totally get it. Candy right now would be so good. But guess what? It's just about supper time. So let's wait for an hour, have supper, and then we'll have the candy." And the child will feel understood, and it kind of settles down, and it's way more agreeable to make that deal with you and be okay.
Yep.
And so this is, this is just like a little prelude to radical self-love. Now, here's another part of the self-love, and then we'll get into it so you really understand. Radical self-love is loving all parts of us. We don't have to choose between I will love this part and I won't love that part. So the way that I practice it with my clients is like this. Let's say let's say you want to go to this party, but a part of you doesn't want to go because you're scared, because there's going to be so many new people. In life, we kind of want to cheer one part on and push the other one away and say, "No, I should go. No, I don't want to hear anything about how there will be too many people. I just want to make myself go." In radical self-love, we will give love, unconditional love, to both those parts. So if I was in that situation, I would say, which of these feelings is louder? Well, the one that's really scared is louder. So then I would sit down, I would visualize the part of me that is scared to go to the party. And pretty much like you would talk to a child that wants the candy, you would say, "Oh, you don't want to go to the party? Wow, of course. Yeah, that's really scary, isn't it?" And so you give that part unconditional self-love, which means unconditional love is you don't want to change someone. When you can accept someone for who they are, that's real love. That's unconditional love.
Wow, acceptance. Wow.
Yeah. So if you tell that part, "I get it. Of course you don't want to go to the party. It's really scary. There's so many people and you're really worried that you won't have anyone to talk to. I get it. It's okay to feel that way." And then there are a few more steps that I lead the person through so that they can really embrace that part and hold it, almost like wrap their arms around it and hold it really tight. Then you pay attention to the part that wants to go to the party and wants to be able to go. And you do the same thing. It's like, you really want to go to the party. You're so excited. You got your best dress out. Of course you want to go. And it sucks that there's that part that holds you back. Of course you want to go. You want to get rid of that part. And then you do, a few more steps until you can really accept that part. And then you realize that you can hold both of them at the same time in unconditional love. You don't have to pick and choose between either. You can give them complete acceptance. Wow. And it settles both of them down. There's something very interesting that happens when, we go through that process.
Yeah, when you acknowledge both sides. Because for me, I try to ignore the negative side, or like there's always, like when I say always, I mean always, there's always an inner dialogue going through my head at all times. And sometimes I'll be like, am I fucking crazy? Or like, there's always an inner dialogue for everything I do. Going to the grocery store, something simple as that. I get like such bad social anxiety. I'll have to be in the parking lot and be like, "Nope, boss up, bitch. Like, you're going in this grocery store. You're capable. We can handle this. Let's go. Like, get out of the car. Let's go." But I never recognize the part that's like, oh, maybe you just like don't feel like having a conversation with anyone today. Maybe you just, need a minute in the car to like settle, or to like get the oomph to go inside of the store.
That's right.
Wow, that's so interesting because I'm always like putting down the negative part. Like, nope, don't do that. We're not going there. Not even gonna acknowledge it. Like my head, my brain, like the way it thinks is like, nope, we're not doing that. Or like you're going, you're gonna speak, you're gonna lead this circle. Like that night when I was having that panic attack, I was like, nope, we're not doing this. Like I just wouldn't acknowledge the fact that I was so nervous that I couldn't like do it. It was just like, nope, what are you doing? Like putting myself down almost in my head, like you can do this. What are you doing? Like, boss up. Like, what is wrong with you? You know, never like, it's okay that you feel this way.
Well, it's so very common, you know, because we have learned that we need to push ourselves to achieve things, right?
Yeah.
But it's very interesting what happens when people practice it this way, because all of a sudden, all those feelings, all those voices start to settle down. It's like the child, they feel seen and heard and understood. And that makes them feel like, okay, and you know, what I've discovered is that part that is usually, you know, that we label our saboteurs, you know, our saboteurs, you've heard the term probably, right? Are actually always trying to protect us from something. But once we can see it, oh, you know, do you want to protect me from feeling really stupid and alone on this party?
Yeah.
Then you can have a conversation. That's the next step. Then, you know, you can have a conversation with that part and say, you know what? I get it. You know, you really want to protect me, but that doesn't really allow me to
Yes,
enjoy
the
my life.
protection. You really want to protect me. That's how my therapist explains it to me. It's like my inner child wanting to protect me when really I have to be like, no, it's okay. Like, I don't need you to protect me anymore. Like, this is something that I want to do or like that I feel called to do.
And oftentimes when those parts of us see actually what they're doing, they realize, oh, this is not really what I wanted to do. I didn't want to stop her from living her life. And all of a sudden they just kind of disappear. And you're like, wow, what happened? So
Wow.
there is a great transformation and magic that is possible with radical self-love. If we love all the parts, you know, the part that is really bossy, you know, the part that says, oh, get your shit together now, I've had enough with you. You
Bingo.
can even love that part. You know, whatever shows up, you can love. You can love the part that doesn't know how to go about doing radical self-love. You can love the part that doesn't feel like doing this darn dumb exercise today. You
Yeah.
can love the part that wants to change, the part that's angry, the part that's frustrated, even the part that's confused
That's
about
really
what.
what shadow work is. That's what
Yeah.
like it, you know,
Loving
shadow
all
work is just
parts.
like really accepting and loving every piece, every part, every timeline, every mistake, not looking at yourself as a failure, knowing that we have to fail to like to learn and you know all of that. That's really when this like new, you know, everyone talks about shadow work because I have an app where I coach people and everyone's like, I want to do shadow work. I want to do shadow work. I'm like, yeah, it's really, that's it. It's very simple. We just got to love all the pieces and parts. You got to not carry any shame for anything and just love
Yeah.
all of who you are and everything that made you into who you are.
And with radical self-love, you also get to love the part that is ashamed.
Yeah.
You see,
Yes.
no part gets left out. That's the key.
No
Yeah.
part left behind.
You have an app, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Sacred Community app. It's beautiful.
Ooh, okay. I have
They
to
do
look
a lot
into
of like online classes and stuff, and you get a membership. You get to come to the studio too. And AIM goes on there every morning at 6 a.m. and does a little lesson. It's beautiful and it's grown so much.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
We need that because
Yeah.
there in the past there wasn't a lot like this
We
out
need
there.
we need
We
community.
need this. Yeah.
We need community.
this,
At the end
period.
of the day, that's like I've been diving deep into this and like thinking about all the different ways that over my years where I tried to find community, right? When I was a drug addict, it was like there was the drug community, right? You had like people that you did the drugs with. It was like
Yeah.
when I was a bartender, I had all these regulars. And you think about people that are like regulars at a bar and they're all talking to each other and it's not a great community because everyone's getting drunk.
But it's a community.
But it's a community. It's people. You see the same people. You do the same things. So it's like finding where, you know, as human beings, we need human connection. We need people so badly. And, you know, we get lost in that. And especially with everything that happened with COVID and all that stuff where just people just got so
Recluse.
separated and,
Yep.
you know, we have
Isolated.
fear of everyone and everything, you know, so. We
Yeah,
need
it's
it
really
more.
important to know that we're not alone, right? That other people go
Yes.
through the same stuff. That even that in itself can be incredibly healing.
Yeah,
That's how the women's circles are for
that's
us.
why we created this podcast. Like, we knew that our stories and message would reach people, and we didn't want anyone to ever feel alone, because our story is a little bit unique in the way that, like, we were in a certain situation and then we left it and we're still okay and happy and healthy and healing. And we wanted to show that, yeah, you can do that and then leave and do this. You can do multiple things. You don't have to just stay in one place. You can move beyond that when you outgrow it or when you don't feel aligned anymore. And so, yeah, we wanted a platform. We wanted a bunch of people to come and share, their gifts with our audience, because knowledge is power. And if we're knowledgeable, we're able to heal these parts of ourselves that maybe we didn't realize we needed to heal. Or maybe, someone watches this and they realize, oh shit, I'm in a relationship with a narcissist. How do I get out ASAP before it's too late? It's
Awareness.
just important shit. Yeah, awareness.
Because sometimes you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
No, I know. I mean, it took me 40 years to figure out that my mother was a narcissist, right?
Yeah.
And I was searching high and low to figure out what was wrong with her. It still took that long because back then there wasn't as much out there as there is now.
We talk about it all the time too. Back then it was different. You swept everything under the rug. You didn't communicate. You didn't talk about feelings. You didn't sit and kumbaya and like resolve like the heartfelt feelings. It just wasn't a thing. You say that, it took you 40 years to figure it out. Do you still have a relationship with your mom? Do you mind me asking? Or is she not in your life?
No, there's nothing that you couldn't ask. So, there was a time when I broke with her completely because I put up a very strong boundary, which once I realized, that she was a narcissist, and I could see the damage she was doing for my children, I decided I would never,
Ooh, your
see
kids.
her again. Yes. And so that was, of course, when I had to somehow explain to her and my dad and my family, why would you do such a thing and not bring the grandkids to grandma anymore? And that really made her mask drop in such a way that she was just only awful now. There was no more niceness. And so I cut more and more time from being with her because I didn't allow anymore that she would rage at me or call me names or be disrespectful. And so I said, if you're like this on the phone, I will hang up. And so I did that for quite some time. And then I said, you know what, you're not changing. I will not talk to you anymore on the phone. You can write me email messages if you want. And then she wrote me email messages, which were just the same.
Yeah.
Complete wrath and temper tantrums. And then I said, well, if you can't be respectful in the email messages, I will not read them anymore. And so I broke with her for quite some time. We didn't speak for about 2-3 years. And at some point, my father begged me if I couldn't give it another chance, if I couldn't try. And I said, you know what? She's not going to change. But he was so hopeful that something could change. And I said, okay, I will write to her on WhatsApp. But if she ever, steps over the line again, that's it. I'm out. And so it's now been maybe 1.5 years, 2 years that we've been communicating through WhatsApp messages. And for the most part, I think she's really understood that I will break the connection off. Once in a while, she will say something that is not cool. And then I remind her and I say, listen, either, you stop this or, I will stop
block.
communicating with you.
Yeah.
And then I won't hear from her for 3 weeks or 4 weeks. And then I will get another text as if nothing had ever happened. This is the interesting thing is that if you have something that the narcissist wants, either connections or people or the finances, then you can actually make them behave. You can make conditions and they will adhere to them most of the time, but they will always test your resolve, right? So for my mother, because she wanted to have some contact with my children, which she is now not allowed to, but she at least wanted to hear about them so that she can tell she still has a connection somehow. She doesn't have to admit that I cut her out of my life. Because I have that, I can make the conditions and she will actually follow them. Because there's something she wants that she gets as long as she keeps to the rules.
Yeah.
But if there's nothing the narcissists want, then there's nothing we can do. They will always behave badly, right? We can't put an ultimatum. We cannot force them to behave
Wow.
a different way.
Wow.
It's really devastating to know that
I was
there's
just gonna
no
say that's so
there's no
unfortunate.
solution either.
know.
Like you're just stuck with it.
Yeah. They will never change, right? And so for some of us, we decide that we have to go no contact in order to heal. That was me at some point. I realized that to really heal, I had to go no contact with her, which was
Not
really
even
helpful.
radical self-love. Radical self-love can't help the narcissist.
Oh, I don't think so. They wouldn't see the point, I don't think. Because all they want is fuel. They're so focused on fuel. Remember, they're drowning. So all they see is a rope
makes
or a
sense.
lifeboat. And so, radical self-love is
Never
like,
willing to see their own part,
yeah,
their own shit, because they don't want to feel the shame. It does make sense.
I don't think they would go for it if there's fuel to be gotten, which will keep them just above water. It's like if they had to go do radical self-love, they would probably be afraid that they'd be drowning, is what I believe now.
Yeah.
And so how do you have any advice on how to protect children if you now you parallel parent, right? That's the first suggestion. Co-parenting doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Which is so funny because
Which
that's
we've
all
already
I've
seen.
been trying to do,
and
but
it's not happening.
So do you have any suggestions on how to support children if you're in a co-parenting situation?
Yeah, you've got to be the opposite of what the narcissist does. So you've got to be that
their safe space.
You've got to be the safe. Yes. Even, and I mean, can be very hard because I know that when, the child has been with a narcissist for a week or for a few days, they come back changed. They will look at you as if they hate you, as if you're the abuser. It's really, really hard. So when they get angry at you or they being really, pissy or mean, it's really hard, but you've got to be that radical self-love mirror, that mirror of love, unconditional love always, and say, hey, sweetheart, what's going on? You seem really upset. I don't know you like that. And something is wrong. What's wrong? I don't want to talk about it. Oh, okay. Yeah, I understand. I get that. That's okay. We don't have to talk about it. Whatever it is they say, mirror it back to them that you're okay with how they're feeling, not necessarily with how they're acting,
You're very
but
good
how
at doing
they're
that.
feeling, right? So if they're being really nasty with you, you can say, I totally understand that you must be feeling really frustrated right now. Of course you're frustrated. I didn't give you the cereals, and daddy gives you as many as you want, or I'm not letting you watch the TV, and daddy lets you watch TV all the time, which is typically what they do, right? But I totally get your frustration, and don't say but, say and you're behaving very disrespectfully. We don't treat people like that. I get you're frustrated. What do you need, to get the frustration out? Do you want to go jump on the trampoline? Like, give them tools.
She's always like, scream it out. Go ahead. She's like, scream.
Right,
Go ahead.
right,
Scream.
yeah.
Yeah. Get it out. Get it out.
So if they can be who they are with you without being afraid, without having to check in, how's mommy feeling? What do I have to say to make her feel okay? So she doesn't blow up. Like, if you can be that safe place where they can be who they are, oh man, I mean, that will give them that space that they will never have with a narcissist, right? If you can give them that, hopefully they will develop enough self-love, right? They will have enough of those light mirrors of love around them because of you, no matter what the narcissist does.
Yeah. That makes sense. I feel like you do that. You're very good at that.
Good for you.
She is. And I don't even like, we're best friends. We hang out all the time and like transition days are hard, rightfully so. And she's just so loving and so patient. And I just admire that so much because the unhealed little child of me sometimes, like when my kids rage, I want to fucking rage. Like if you're raging, I'm raging, and she's so good at being like, go ahead, scream, it's okay. Like, she just fully accepts and allows them to have those moments, and it's beautiful to witness. It really is.
It's
And
the
I
hollow
learned,
bone theory, right? In the Toltec teachings, like when we become so aware of what's ours, right? Because a lot of times when our kids, and I'm not perfect, like I have moments, right, where I'm like, I'm gonna fucking lose my mind because it's not easy. Parenting's not easy. But when we can just identify like, okay, this whining, this crying, this noise, this emotion is triggering it in me from the unhealed child in me, or, whatever it is that, okay, it's not mine. Like this is them. Children, it's our job to emotionally regulate children, right? And a lot of us as adults never knew how to emotionally regulate because of trauma, or if we had narcissistic parents or whatever, we never were able to express our emotions
yeah,
properly.
safely.
Yeah.
That's the key. Like she safely allows them to express the way that they need to and know that they won't get in trouble for screaming or crying or having a fit or a tantrum,
And redirect.
and redirect. Yeah.
Yeah, because they won't get that from dad, and at some point it will click for them. It's like, wait a moment, I feel safe with mom. I'm never concerned. Around dad, I'm always careful. At some point that will sink in because it's a very stark contrast. Even all the toys they're getting, even all the, oh, you're the best kid in the world, and then you're the worst kid in the world. Like even all the love bombing will not be able to compete with a child being able to be who they are in a
And
safe
identify
place.
that inside. Yeah. I love that.
So it's
All
maybe
right.
trusting,
trusting
that we can give them all they need in that
all the
sense.
love they need. That's right.
We like to end with like one little, like if you could say like over all your years of like working with, people and family, like if there's one piece of advice like that you think is the most valuable piece of advice that you've learned about dealing with narcissists or whatever that you could give the listeners, what piece of love nugget do you want to share?
About narcissists. Okay, let me see.
Or maybe it doesn't even have to be about narcissists, maybe just life in general, like something that you think is so valuable for us to hear.
Okay. Well, besides the things we already discussed, I probably would have mentioned radical self-love now, but we already have. So, excuse me. Oh no, it flew out of my mind. What was I wanting to say? So I think when we're going through the healing journey, there comes a point when we have to make a decision. Do we want to aim to be perfect, or do we want to aim to be whole?
Love that.
And when I came to that point, I realized that trying to be perfect was futile. It's never going to happen because we are
unattainable,
naturally flawed as human beings, right? That's why we're human beings. And so then I thought, okay, so then if I can't be perfect, I could be whole. And what would that feel like? And that started a lovely inquiry and led me to the radical self-love, that I'm now doing with my clients. So it feels amazing when we can have a moment of wholeness, and those moments of feeling whole are totally possible, as you've probably experienced. They seem so much better than in those moments when I felt perfect, to be honest. So, I think we should go for feeling whole.
I love that. That's so beautiful. I love that so much. This was so great. We appreciate you taking the time. I don't know what time it is there. Are you guys on the same time zone as us?
I think I'm an hour earlier. Oh, we spoke for an hour and a half.
Yes.
Cool.
No, but we really just appreciate it. We know it's late, and we always appreciate, the time taken that it takes to sit with us. So This
It was such a pleasure. I have to say, it
yeah,
was
this
a
was so
really lovely
beautiful.
conversation. You had amazing questions, and I just love your presence. I think you're in a
you.
perfect example of coming out of a tough place and then just glowing
Yeah.
and thriving. You're radiant.
We're here to shine.
No one's gonna dim our light anymore.
right,
We're
that's
over
right.
here being whole and
And we
real
just want-
and human. And I think that that's the most beautiful part about it all is we're so real and so honest about it all. And
Maybe a little too honest sometimes.
TMI, but also just stepping into that wholeness, like
Yeah.
not feeling broken no matter what, like I say it all the time,
Shame or guilt we once
right?
felt.
Like between childhood trauma to drug addiction and homelessness and narcissist abuse and literally like all the things to be where we are today, like happy and healthy and helping a community and building and doing the things that we're doing. We're just like,
Yeah.
this is it.
So grateful. And we just want
Awesome.
everyone else to shine. Like we want to be this platform for people like you to share with our audience. We want to be able to impact as many lives as possible. And we know that it creates a ripple effect. So we're just so grateful. Thank you so much. We're gonna
Thank you so much.
close. We're gonna
May I
close
say-
how we start.
May I say one more thing?
Oh yeah, of course.
It's very short because I made an audio recording of that radical self-love meditation so that people can get a,
Oh, amazing.
an experience of radical self-love. So
I think
would-
I saw that on your YouTube. Is it on your YouTube?
It is as well, but I also have like not all of it is probably, but I have a link where people can, send me
Amazing.
just a request, and then it'll be sent into their inbox. If you want to
Amazing.
attach that to the
Oh,
podcast.
I'll link everything. I'll link all your
Okay.
socials and stuff that you sent me for sure. So again, you guys, this was Phoenix Gould. She's from Canada. She's online. She has a few videos. And if you want to get a hold of her, you will find her through all the links that I tag her in once we post this episode.
Yeah. And then
Thank you so much.
And then just quick podcast announcement. We are New Hampshire's Best is
Oh, yeah.
voting for New Hampshire's Best local podcast. And so if you're listening, the link is in the newsletter. Please vote for us.
And I'll post a link on here too.
Yeah, so there'll be a link on there. The Revive murder mystery dinner we rescheduled. We'll have a new date for April and May. So if anybody has anything that they want to help us out, donate, like massage therapy, tattoo, we're gonna have a raffle table, so you could get yourself involved in a million different ways. So please reach out if you want to help us. The Revive event is going to be for our program that helps. We have a youth support group where we help children that have been affected by addiction. We have like a support group inside.
Yeah.
And we also have a program that if a child is present for an overdose, we get the child support. So this specific fundraiser, all of that is going to go specifically for that program. So if you have any passion in your heart for, kids and kids, affected by substance abuse, please reach out. We would love all the help that we can get because now we have a couple more months to promote it.
Yes.
So podcast, that's just our little community
Yes.
announcements.
All right, we're gonna end how we start. Big deep breath.
One hand on the heart, one hand on the belly. Breathe in through the nose. Fill up. And then exhale, slow and controlled. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you.
Thanks so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to listen to what we have to say. It means the world. As always, we want to end this episode by reminding you that we are not medical professionals and we are not giving any type of medical advice. We are simply sharing our experience and solutions.
We are here with the intentions of reminding you that you are never alone and that everyone's healing journey is unique to the individual. Make sure to follow us on all social media platforms to stay updated. Stay well, Sacred Rebels. See you next time.